Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hindsight. Today, this is going to be our special Halloween episode. So I hope you're in the spooky season mood. We're going to be talking about Coraline, the film that released in 2009. I'm here and joined by my brother. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell the people what's going on at home.
Hey guys, I'm excited to get into this episode. I'm also excited to, get into some other things, but I'll say that for later. Don't even worry about it.
Okay, cool. So, specifically, before we talk about Coraline, I do want to mention, I guess, the topic of Halloween just in general, because uh, on our side of the family, at least mother's side of the family, we didn't really like celebrate Halloween like that. Like it was like a thing that like we weren't like completely deemed not able to consume Halloween content. Like we could watch movies that had to deal with it. It wasn't like some households where some people that are uber religious don't want you to watch Harry Potter, witches, any of that stuff. No, we can't do it. But it wasn't like that for us. But we just never really participated in Halloween, like going trick or treating and
Yeah,
dressing up and
no
stuff
trick
like
or
that.
treating and none of that.
Yeah, I wish that was something we did because I really like Halloween. I think it's a really cool season and the spirit and the jack o' lanterns and all that stuff. I'm down for it. So that's something that I would like to change. If I have kids of my own, I'm definitely gonna let them celebrate Halloween. I don't know how you feel about that. Do you feel different?
I mean, I don't mind either way. I'll definitely like let them do it. I'm not gonna, put my foot down there. I'm not dying on that hill. But I mean, I've gone trick or treating a few times with my dad, and it's kind of just whatever. Like it's the
Well, how
first time
old
I
were you
went.
when you did it?
The first time I think I was like 9 or 10, and we went trick or treating like a mall. And it was like, okay,
Well,
I mean, it was
that's
mall.
a
Yeah, it wasn't
mall,
great.
man.
Yeah,
That's
I was gonna
not the
say,
real.
yeah, no,
See,
let me finish. Let me finish. Then I went another time when I think I was like 13 with my dad, and we were just going like through a neighborhood, and like we went to like 10 houses or whatever. I was like, man, this costume's getting like really sweaty and gross because it wasn't cold out.
what'd
So
you
it's
dress
just like,
up
oh
as?
well. I forget. I remember when we went to the mall, I had this like Party City Batman costume, but when we went out the other time, I forget. Uh, I
Okay,
think
okay.
I remember I was carrying a skateboard around though, so I think I was like maybe trying to do like Tony Hawk or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, the only Halloween-esque event or thing that I can recall doing is my dad took me to it was like a haunted house type of attraction thing. It wasn't really a house. It was like I don't even know what you would describe it as, but it's like you go it was somewhere downtown. They take like a whole parking lot and they build this thing around it and they turn it into this like spook house. So you just kind of go in there and there's people with chainsaws and all this stuff trying to, grab at you and scare you and all this stuff. And that was kind of cool. I think the aesthetic and the environment was neat. I really dig a lot of the horror stuff. So whether it be movies and whatnot. So I'm into all that. But yeah, for whatever reason, on my mom's side of the family or our mom's side of the family, we weren't really allowed to go trick or treating or do things of that nature. But I would definitely have my kids go out and do that because I think that's just really cool. Like something about the experience of because you would only see this in movies and cartoons and seeing like the kids like figure out what the meta is. Like they'll go out with their friends and they'll be like, oh, like
The
we need to go to the
meta.
rich houses and that they got the good candy, and stuff like that. I never got to experience that, so that kind of blows for me. But hey, when my kids are coming up, I'm definitely gonna make sure that they get that Halloween experience.
Yeah,
Um,
let them figure out what's optimal for candy collecting. Just
yeah, exactly. So, Coraline. This movie is very special to me. I love this movie so much. I wanted to revisit it mainly just because it's a movie that I feel is very timeless. And the more you watch it, the more you pick up on things that you just didn't the first time. And for some reason, this movie does a great job at keeping your attention, like a kid's attention, which is hard to do sometimes, especially when a movie that's like very slow paced like this one is. It feels more like a traditional film. It's not really going at a rapid pace, trying to make sure that you always have something crazy happening on the screen. And I really appreciate that. I like movies like that that just kind of, just respect that, hey, you're going to pay attention and you're going to like it because we got something really, really nice in store for you here. The movie
Tons of
was,
oh, no, my
sorry.
bad. No, I was gonna say there's like tons of like really small details they expect you to pay attention to that like only enhance it on like rewatches. And
Yeah,
like that's something I really appreciate, especially for a movie made in stop motion. That's really difficult.
it is. Which brings me to like, this movie was adapted from a book, which I knew, but I didn't know at the time when I watched the movie. So with that knowledge now, it makes a lot of sense. There's so many little things that you could definitely see that they pulled it straight from the book, and it was like, okay, we got to make sure this is there, this is there, this is there. All these little things that you can go in detail about in the book form, but in the film you may not have enough time to delve into every little detail, but you can still make sure that it's there. Like if you've read it and you watch the movie, just so many little things you'd be like, oh, they kept that in, or oh, this thing's here and that thing's there. I think they did a really good job with that. This movie was directed by Henry Selick. He's best known for his work on The Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach. So stop
That makes so
motion,
much
just
sense.
yeah, it seems to be his thing. That's his go to. Shortly after this movie came out, though, he left Leica and joined Pixar to make some stop motion films, and sadly, nothing really came of that. There was a lot of development hell and issues. But later, he did go on to make that Wendell and Wild movie that came out on Netflix with Jordan Peele and Michael Key. I actually haven't seen it yet. One of my friends, Dallas, he watched it. He said it wasn't that good, but I'm still mildly interested. I might go back and watch it since it's Halloween season. But that movie came out last year, and it definitely screams of the vibe. It has the same stop motion look that this movie does. So I am interested in checking it out just for the artistic aspect of it, I guess. Have you heard of this movie at all?
I have not. I'm not gonna lie to you. The first time you said it, I was like racking my brain, and nothing came to mind.
Yeah, yeah, it's recent. It went straight to streaming on Netflix, but if you looked at it, it literally looks exactly like how Coraline does. But yeah, it's an interesting little movie. It's on Netflix, so well, I can't say I'd recommend because I haven't seen it yet, but if you want to just take a look at it, hey, you might have a good time. I don't know. As of right now, the only project that it seems that he's working on, from what I could see, is, and I didn't even know this was being made, but apparently there's a production on an adaptation of the Little Nightmares games, and it's going to be into a TV show, and he's going to be producing that, or making it along with the Russo brothers, who did the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War and all. They've been producing a lot of top tier stuff. Like Everything Everywhere All at Once last year. Like they know how to find passionate projects that tend to work and come out great. So I'm actually interested in seeing what that's going to be like. I think you've played the Little Nightmares games, have you?
Yeah, and they're really, really good for that. If you like body horror, if you like really unnerving settings, like things like that, they're really, really good at doing that. Like there's a lot to work with there if they want to, you know, tackle that.
Yeah. So definitely interested to see what this guy does, because I love this movie. It's a shame that he went through many years of not getting his own stuff off the ground, but Little Nightmares, I think that's going to be big. So that might be another big break for him. But let's move on to the movie, shall we? So
Yeah.
Coraline. This movie opens with a really great like sequence, and it kind of reminds me a lot of like older movies that because movies nowadays, they don't really invest much into title crawls in the beginning. They just want to get you into the movie like as quickly as possible. So they'll do, a thing where it's like we just start with a scene and then we'll have like credits appear as the scene's going or something. Granted, they find creative ways to do it, so I'm not like opposed to that style of filmmaking, but it's just rare that you see like a very slow paced, delicate like sequence that's just like building to the beginning of the movie. And I think it really does a good job. I love the music, the vibe. You see the building of the puppet, and the hands that are weaving it together, and it's like little subtle hints as to things that will get later revealed moving forward. And I don't know. I'm a sucker for sequences like this when they really go the creative route. How did you feel like watching this, or do you even remember how it was when you were like younger watching this?
When I was younger, definitely don't remember how it made me feel. I think it was just like, oh, like weird title. When do we get to movie? But rewatching it, I feel the exact same way. I think it's one of the best utilizations of a title card, like to have it not only be interesting to look at and have like great audio design and visuals and all this other stuff, but to directly tie into the movie's like story was really, really good.
I
Like,
agree.
yeah, I was gonna say like not many movies do that. Like you said, they just do like a, oh, let's just have maybe a set piece and then things popping up during it, or maybe just whatever, right? It might just be like some nice animated letters, but they don't go this far.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Movie opens up. We see a new family moving into the Pink Palace apartments. It's Coraline and her mother and father moving to this place. I think they are originally from Michigan, is where they're coming from, and now they're moving to Ashland, Oregon. So this is completely new for them and the family. And from the get go, you get a very dull, drab, and just not very exciting looking, place to live. Initially, I thought like, oh, are they getting this whole house? But it's like no, it's an apartment, but it's like a house that's been like segmented into apartments in a very weird way. But despite all that, there's areas very spacious. I mean, you would be fooled to think that the whole house isn't theirs. I mean, they get the full, living room to the stairs, all the way up into the bedroom and the kitchen. Like it's like, damn, you basically got the whole house. So that was kind of interesting to note that why specifically did they end up with all this space, and why does no one live here, or no one has lived here for X amount of years or X amount of time or whatever. And while she's exploring the house or whatever, you could tell Coraline is this type of kid that is very, I guess, adventurous, rebellious, and she doesn't really take shit from nobody. That kind of attitude, which I kind of respected. I like it. And she ends up meeting this little boy named YB, and
Yeah,
yeah, there's a
she's horrible to him. Like, oh my god, like,
yep,
but
a bully.
yeah, no, she's terrible. But actually, just before we get into that, I wanted to comment on the house and like how you said it was so spacious and they get so much room to themselves, and it seems like you said, they almost have like an entire house, and that really feeds into the mystery when she starts talking with YB and he mentions, yeah, my grandma, she doesn't let anybody with kids go there. And it's like, well, why specifically with kids? And like little
Hmm.
things like that are really, really good. Like,
Planting the seeds.
yeah, I love it. But no, to her, she was horrible to YB. So why were you born is crazy to say to someone you just met.
Yeah, every time she says that, it's just like, wow. Like, but I also like it because it kind of further it gives you more of an insight of what type of person Coraline is, because you're not used to seeing someone as abrasive as that in your day-to-day life. But at the same time, where the movie goes and certain things that happens, I'm like, only someone like this girl could even make it through the stuff that happens later in this movie, because the your average kid would not, they would crumble under certain circumstances of the
Yeah.
things that happen. uh
I know I would crumble. I would have the
yep.
second things happen in that movie that happened later, I'm just no, you know what?
Yeah, like I liked there's like a part where she's like exploring the house, and she sees she like opens the shower curtain, and there's just bugs like all on the wall, and her first instinct is to start crushing them with her bare hands. And I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh
it's
my,
like
what the
yeah.
hell?"
And then she turns on the shower head, and like this is like some Looney Tunes like level stuff. She stares directly at the faucet, like just sits underneath it with her hands, and is surprised when like the shower head comes on. I was like, this is
Yeah,
this is
she's an interesting character.
yeah,
Uh
not my first decisions.
Yeah, I noticed bugs appear a lot in the movie. I know like her family, it seems they have some vested interest in gardening. I know the dad, he's writing articles about it, and the wife's editing them for him. about
Mhm.
gardening. That's like their profession of some sort. And but the irony of it is that they have no time to actually garden, despite being so
Yeah.
interested in it. And I think that's kind of why Coraline is not afraid of bugs, because if you're gardening, that just kind of comes with the landscape of things. So it kind of makes sense why her first instinct is just to crush them with her hands, because like she doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's no
That
biggie to
too.
her.
The bugs play into the twist later on, um,
Mm-hmm.
with like
Yes.
the other mother. So that's it's another thing where it's just like another little thing that's like subtly, not even like subtly leading to it as if it's like, oh, everything's like a hint to it, but it's like little things on rewatch. It's like, oh, hey, that's probably little things.
Yeah.
Good
What
stuff.
do you think of Coraline's outfit? I think her look is very iconic. Even though it's so simple, it's
Yeah,
just like a raincoat and some boots, but like the blue hair and the freckled cheeks, it kind of ties it all together. It kind of makes it look, I don't know, it's just iconic looking. I don't
yeah.
know.
I feel like it specifically is the blue hair because I can't imagine her hair color being anything else.
Yeah,
Like
that's true. Yeah.
But, like, it's also what makes it such a good design is, like you said, it's simple. They're not, like, trying to make the next, child icon. They're not trying to make the next thing that'll sell toys. They just made a good designed character, and it just holds up really, really well.
Yeah, I agree. Because I'm looking at her now, and it's like if her hair was black and everything was the same, it definitely wouldn't stand out as much. That deep blue is really, it just really complements the yellow a lot, and it's just very unique. You don't really see that too often. Blue hair is very much a thing you see only in like cartoons and stuff like that. And this being stop motion also emphasizes the blue. So yeah, that's very interesting. Something I wanted to note is when she meets YB for the first time, she's like holding she calls it a dowsing rod,
Yeah.
and I was like looking into this because I was like, actually, what the hell is she doing here? So, dowsing is a type of divination. So they employed it to attempt to look or locate like things like groundwater, buried metal, ores, oil, things of that nature. And he even calls her like a water witch. And I was like, okay, no kid would ever even know what the hell they're talking about. So that's why I had to look this up, because I was like, I've gone so long without even know what the hell they're talking about, and to finally like learn. And there's a lot of insults thrown in this movie that I'm just like, that just like she calls someone a dingbat at one point. I was like, what the hell is a dingbat? I had to look that up. Like there just certain things I was like, this is just lingo. I just don't know. Like I've never heard of this stuff.
And it being a, dowsing rod and her, being called a water witch actually makes sense because the very next thing she says when talking to him is, "Yeah, I'm looking for the old well."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense if you're, like all that prior stuff, literally, like like you said, goes over a kid's head. But
Yeah.
when you're like paying attention to it, you're like dowsing rod, water. Oh well, yeah, that makes sense. But it's like,
Yeah.
that is like a weird choice of dialogue to have for a kids movie. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. But it also kind of makes it paints a picture for Coraline's, I guess, interests, because you don't get to see too much of her hobbies or things that she takes interest to, but you could see that maybe she has some vested interest in things that are supernatural, or
A little
maybe.
more abstract.
Yeah, like you kind of get a idea of how she thinks about the world and how it works and whatnot. So I think that actually adds a bit of a more intrigue, I guess, or development for her doing stuff like that. And it's just something that you grow to appreciate when you watch it with a more adult and modern lens. Uh, and during this part of the movie, we get introduced to the cat for the first time, and the cat specifically, he reminds me a lot of the Cheshire cat from Alice in Wonderland in a way. And there's a lot of Alice in Wonderland isms in this story as a whole that I thought were pretty interesting. And so after this encounter with YB and getting introduced to him, she goes back to the house, and you start to realize that she doesn't really like this new life at all. She misses her friends back at home. She's doing is complaining about every little thing, whether it be her mom not cooking the food, or her dad being busy and working all the time, her just being bored, and everything just sucks. And honestly, I get it. I would hate living in this dump. I didn't know what to do here. Like Ashland, Oregon. I've never even heard of that place. I don't know what the hell there's to do in Ashland, Oregon. Um, One thing I also like to note is that the dad, he works on this like old like 90s like fat box computer. And then meanwhile, like the mom, she has like this modern laptop, and I just find that kind of funny how like stuck in it. Like you even go to his room and you just have piles and piles of boxes and paper and a bunch of junk.
Yeah.
Like you can tell his life is like out of order. He's just all over the place, and then she's a lot more put together and things of that nature. I also didn't notice that she had a neck brace for some reason. When I was younger, I just thought that was like her turtleneck or something. But
Yeah.
no, like she they got into like a car accident recently, and that's why she's like injured and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know how I
And
didn't even put that together.
yeah, and one thing that like too about that dynamic of the father seemingly kind of having his life out of order, having like the fact box computer, like you said, it also plays into the other side with how it's like the same way where it's like it seems like the mom's the one in control, she's the one making the decisions while the dad's trying to be like the fun loving one.
Hmm.
And then over there it gets like twisted and kind of turned into something a little darker than just having two unique parents. And there's just tons of like little things like that, and I love them. Just ways of
Yeah,
developing the story subtly through
yeah. And then
not
there's
words,
also
but
the snow globes too.
yeah, snow globes.
Yeah, that's like one of the first things she unpacks, and you kind of see I guess the snow globes are souvenirs from all these different trips and places that they went to. So I guess they travel a lot. It seems to be very sentimental in value, and even the snow globe comes back later in the movie too. And
Hmm.
another little thing I did not notice at all until I watched it this time, but there's a moment where it's the first time Coraline finds the door, the small door, and she's like she's like complaining to her mom like, please, please, like find the key, open it or
Yeah.
whatever. And the mom does the like the wrinkly finger thing, like the
Oh
she
yeah, where
does
she
it,
like
yeah, yeah, but she does it more out of like frustration of or aggravated, like oh my god, she's like, are you serious? Like it's like, but it's the complete opposite to the other mother. I was like, okay, this is
yeah.
interesting. It's interesting. Little seeds being planted here. I like it. I like it. So since we're dying to go to the other world here, we'll just fast forward a little bit. Coraline goes to sleep in her bed, and she sees these white mice, similar to chasing the white rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. She chases the white mice down to the door, and in the door, it's almost it's like a vent. Like I don't even know what those things are called, but
Yeah,
those
it's
like.
like those weird, like yeah, like those what are it's like the thing that it like extends out. It's like I'm not
Yeah,
doing a good job explaining.
we don't know what it's called, but if you've seen the movie, you probably know the thing we're trying to describe here.
It's almost like a tent thing, like those parts to tents that like open up and they're like the little tunnels connecting parts.
Yeah,
It's almost like that.
I just remember they would have you crawl through these things as a kid. I don't know what the hell they're called, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's like a little crawl space that she goes through, and this takes her to the other world, with lack of a better word. But she comes out, and it's basically the house again, but everything is completely different. It's completely vibrant and colorful. It's a complete mirror of the house that she was just at. But things start to get a little weird because she ends up seeing her other mother, which is almost like the spitting image of her mother, but she has all the imperfections now perfected. Her nose is no longer crooked. She has no like eye bags. She's like super perfect looking, and even the
No
dad,
cast.
he's yeah, no cast. Yep, yep. Like all of that is just gone. Even the dad, he's not all tired and depressed looking like as he does
Yeah.
in the real world, and things are not quite what they appear to be, or at least Coraline is already like suspicious. She's immediately like, okay, what's going on here? Which I really respect that, and it makes sense later on, because like I said, like only this type of character could handle this situation in the way that it needs to be handled for the movie, to get the resolution we get later on. So as she makes her way down here and meets this new family. The mom is cooking the food or cooking dinner, and dad is upstairs playing the piano. And this is a really cool scene. Well, for one, the song, I just really like the song. I think it's catchy, it's nice, and the camera work is so good. Like for a stop motion movie, like to do this, there's like a tracking shot. There's like one where he's spinning while playing the piano, but while he's spinning, Coraline is standing stationary in the background. So it's just him on the piano that's spinning. And I don't know how they're exactly doing this. I don't know if it's green screens in some way and they're just like stitching it on to a different shot, but it's very impressive. I don't know how they're doing this in stop motion. Stop motion will forever be a magic to me. I don't know how these artists even like if I was doing stop motion and I was like, "Oh, we could do this one shot that's like this." And it's like, "Oh, but like that, increases our budget and time investment by like 10x amount." It's like I would be like, nah, let's just make something simple,
Yeah,
But these
like
artists, they take it to the next level. Leica is on top for a reason.
oh, a random tidbit about the dad. I don't know why, but every time I look at him, I just see the guy from Rio. What's his name? I think Tulio.
Oh
Like,
yeah, he does kind of
yeah,
look
he
like
looks.
Tulia.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know. I thought it was crazy, and I looked it up after the movie. I was like, no, he looks like shockingly similar. But I don't know
Tulio
why that
post
came to
depression. I don't know.
me. Those
Yeah. Okay.
this
Oh,
is what
also
what
I
happened.
forgot to we forgot to mention they have buttons for eyes. Yeah, that's a
Oh yeah, 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 they do.
interesting visual. I remember when seeing this as a kid, the button eye thing was kind of creepy, but
No, it's
I had no
very
frame of
creepy.
reference for why. I was like, this is kind of weird. This is kind of creepy.
Well, it's very creepy, but then it gets creepier when like they suggest how to go about doing it, and it's like, oh no, it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's always something unnerving about that, and something also to note is there's like a doll that YB gives her that looks exactly like her with the button eyes, and this doll seems to be some sort of fly on the wall type of deal or some sort of spy because every time basically what led her here was not only the mice but also the doll led her into this other world. So from the get-go there seems to be something suspicious happening with this other mother and all the things that are going on here, but she comes down for dinner. Everything is seeming pretty great. Dad is fun, the food looks amazing. You even have a gravy choo-choo train, which is, I mean, what kid wouldn't want to play with that thing? That's cool. And she's like asking, like, what else can we get you? And she asks for a drink, and then she says a mango milkshake. I've never heard a mango milkshake. That sounds horrible. I don't know. Does that sound like that would be good to you?
you know what? I really like fruit. I really like milkshakes. I'd be down to try it. But that what came out of that thing did not look like a milkshake. It looked way too liquid. Like I don't know. Like it didn't have that thickness to it that milkshake's
Yeah.
supposed to have. But I don't know. But that is a weird decision. You're eating turkey, mashed potatoes and gravy, corn on the cob,
I would like
biscuits.
a
You're like,
mango
yeah,
milkshake.
you know what would really go well with this turkey leg? Mango milkshake. Like, ew. No.
Yeah.
Like,
Very,
read the room.
very interesting taste buds Coraline has here. Uh, but after the dinner, everything seems to be great. And she basically says like, "Hey, I'm tired. I want to go to bed." So they take her upstairs, and she goes to sleep and wakes up in the boring, drab, and not so fun world. So from her perspective, she thinks this is all, that was all a dream. And I mean, you'd be right to assume so. From your perspective, you went to sleep and woke up, and now you're here. But
Yeah.
yeah, it just seems that way. But when you start looking at the clues, it's like, no, you were definitely brought back in your sleep. You definitely, but it's done intentionally, right? The goal of the other mother, and her whole plan is she wants you to think it was all a dream, so that way you become attached to the dream versus your real world, and eventually you just want to be in there all the time.
Yeah, you forget
And
about the consequences. You're like, "Oh, well, it's
yeah,
just a dream." So,
yeah, exactly. So after she wakes up and she's, telling her mom and all this stuff about what happened, and of course, no one believes her, or they think like, oh, well, why don't you just, if your other mother sounds so great, why don't you just go, ask her for everything and stuff like that. So Coraline's kind of being a little bit ungrateful, but also her parents are also being a bit. They could treat her a little
Neglectful.
better. Yeah, because they just
Borderline
moved here.
neglectful.
Yeah, super neglectful. I mean, it's like, she just moved to this new place. You could at least show her some sort of you
Hey,
know
like, don't worry. Yeah,
attention.
like, yeah, just be a little kind as you settle in. But no, they're just, hey, why don't you stop bothering me while I work?
Yeah,
Like, her
exactly.
dad literally tells her, "Hey, go count all the windows and doors and leave me alone." It's like, excuse me?
Yeah, hey man, I respect it. That was hard. Go, yeah, get the hell out of here.
So you kinda cooked with that line.
Yeah, and that's a theme in the movie too. Is that no one listens to her at all. Like, uh, which kind of feeds into this delusion or this want and escapism to get away and go to this other world where everyone does listen to you and everyone cares and wants to hear what you want to say. And like even all the people and neighbors that she meets, they don't call her by her name properly. They all say Caroline, and she has to correct them constantly. No, it's Coraline, not Caroline. Even YB does this too. They all just constantly mispronounce her name and kind of ticks her off, which feeds into the delusion and escapism. But it's here she gets introduced to the amazing Babinski. He's one of their neighbors that lives upstairs next to them, and this guy he's this Russian dude that has these like circus mice, it seems, and he used to, I guess, do shows and stuff for with them. And something to note is he has like a medal on his chest, and I didn't know this. I was like looking up little tidbits and facts about the movie, and the medal actually like signifies he was a member of the cleanup crew during the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, which kind of explains probably why his design, and he's like depicted in like a really like kind of blue hue. Like maybe they
Yeah.
just used a radiation poisoning or something as like a reason to kind of like, okay, we'll make him look this way to give a
Yeah,
bit
he's
more
super
credence to that.
spindly and
Hmm.
super strong when you think about it for how, like, thin his arms are. Like, he's lifting himself and, like, flinging around. Like, yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, he's super cool too. And then the mice also warn her about going into the door. They say, "Hey, don't
Yeah.
do that."
And they
And they actually
even say
call her
her
by
name
her real
right.
name. Yeah, they
Yeah,
say
they
her name
they
right.
say Coraline. And he even goes, "Coraline." Like, could you imagine having that weird of a name? It's Caroline, clearly. It's like, dude, come on.
Yeah, it's something interesting. All the animals seem to be aware. They seem to understand, like the real shit that's going on here. Because this even goes, into it with the cat. The cat is very aware of everything and
Yeah.
understands like, no, this is you want to stay away from this. This is not good. Which is
And
funny because a black cat is normally like a bad omen.
and not only that, but the whole animals being aware thing, that's actually something from just, the real world. I mean, well, naturally, but that's like an idea that's been like pervaded around for a while, that animals and children can see things that adults can't, or they are more perceptive to the otherworldly or supernatural for some reason.
Hmm.
Uh, which is why, like, often in horror movies, when the ghost is nearby, a dog starts barking or little things like that. And that was a really nice touch for them to add that.
Yeah, I agree. And right after I forget their names, but she goes down into like the like basement area to meet the other neighbors, and it's these two women that also used to perform these like stage plays, and they're very very old and elderly, and you can tell they're a little out of touch with things that are going on, and but they're sweet ladies, and they have these dogs that they're very attached to, so much so that they stuff the dogs once they die and keep them mounted on their wall, which is very very unnerving to think about, for
Yeah,
sure.
very. That's a choice. And I love the one scene where she's sewing wings for one dog. And Coraline goes, "Isn't that for dead dogs?" She goes, "Oh, I'm just getting a head start because he's not been feeling well." It's like, oh wow, the vet
Yeah,
doesn't exist apparently.
yeah, this is insane. And I think shortly after this, after she leaves, she sees YB again, and he's with the cat, and I found this funny. She calls the cat a wuss puss. And then I was like, I have an idea what that means, but I looked it up just so I can get the definition clear as day. And it says a wuss puss is a person who is a wuss, but a pussy too. So yeah, there you go,
Are
wuss
those not
puss.
are those not the same thing?
It is the same thing. It's just funny reading it like straight like that. It's a wuss and a
That's
pussy.
like calling someone a dumb idiot. It's like those are the same. Come on, stop.
Yeah. And it's here where YB brings up the fact that his grandmother's sister was stolen when they were kids, while they were living there, which is interesting because they were kids living there, so it begs the question of, did she acquire the home through inheritance later in life, or you could see maybe this became this obsession, this thing that never quite, she never quite got over. So she purchased the house and, had some attachment to it and thought maybe one day her sister would come back, or something of that nature. So it kind of makes you ask questions about YB's grandmother. And, I kind of wish she was a bigger part of it. You do get some closure for her towards the end, but I think they could have had a scene or two where maybe they go to her house and you actually get to have a conversation where she kind of goes more in depth about that story of what happened with her sister.
Yeah, and I also have a theory about the grandma. Uh,
Oh.
so you know how at the beginning it shows the doll being made of Coraline, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then YB says, "Oh, I found this doll in my grandma's basement, and I thought it looked like you, so oh, whatever." He gives it to her. But then later on, he's like, "Oh, my grandma really wants that doll back." I think the grandma knows the dolls have something because if they were both young and both, I feel like the grandma knew what happened. Like she went to the other mother's world or whatever too,
Mm-hmm.
and her sister got, but she escaped, and no one believed her. And so when she saw that doll, she's like, "Oh, this is it starting again. Let me just keep this away from the kid that's moved in there." And that's why she was so
Mm.
eager to get it back. And I wish they would have explored that. But that's kind of the thing that was going through my head. 'Cause I'm like, it would make sense if like that's why she wants it back. Because otherwise, it's just a doll that looks like some girl she doesn't know. Like, why would she care?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's why she's like, no, I need that back because that's how she's spying. Like, I need to keep her safe. And it's like, boom,
Yeah, it's like a Monster House situation where it's like,
yeah,
the
I was the
oh,
only one protecting you.
right, right. Yeah, she was just looking out, looking out for her and the family. That yeah, that actually probably is how it is. I mean, that could be a thing in the books for all I know. They could have actually very well delved into their grandmother more. But yeah, that's like the one little thing I'm like, oh, I kind of wish this was in the movie too. But it's fine. It's not necessary. It's nice to speculate and theorize about the grandmother and where she fits in all of this. But uh yeah. So after this, she goes back to the world again, and this time she gets taken out to the garden, and she sees this amazing display of all these beautiful flowers. This scene is absolutely jaw-dropping. It's so pretty. It even holds up, till today. And something to note is the dad, his like little machine is like a praying mantis, which
Hmm.
I noticed the praying mantis seems to be like prevalent throughout the film a lot. The picture that holds Coraline's like little or no, sorry, the frame thing that holds the picture of Coraline's friends from back home is a praying mantis. And I was like, okay, I wonder if there's like some symbolic nature with the
There is
praying
indeed.
mantis. And there is. I was looking it up, and um it has some significance in Celtic symbolism, mythology, and it represents courage and persistence, which I think definitely relates to the dynamics that are between Coraline and the other mother. I think both of them, I guess, exhibit both of those things. I think Coraline is an abnormally courageous kid. I think like we'll get once we get towards the end of the movie, I'll go into that more, but most kids would not would not
They would
do
not
half of the
survive.
things that this kid does. And she's very persistent, just like the other mother is. She is very persistent
She's
in
very
getting what she
resourceful
wants.
too and intelligent, but I
Yes,
mean that
yeah.
comes in later.
Hmm.
But one of the other things about the praying mantis, this was a different symbolism I got from it. Uh, so the thing about praying mantis, that what they do is they like eat their like partner, and this might be a bit of a stretch, but the other mother is very controlling of
The
the other
father.
father,
Yeah.
to the point where I was like, I could see that as like them using that as like her basically using him and then getting rid of it. But like, that might be a bit of a stretch. Now that you brought the Celtic thing, I was like, that's probably more what it is.
Could be, could be. I think there's a lot of visual thematic things like that when they're chosen. A lot of thought goes into it. So there's I have no doubt in my mind that they probably thought of that in some way too.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, she it's here where she kind of tells Coraline like, oh, they're gonna have this show downstairs. You could go check out, and you could bring your friend. And YB is here, but she says that she fixed him, so he cannot speak. And Coraline at first is kind of like, hyped and relieved, like, oh, good, I like him better when he doesn't speak. But once they leave, she kind of asks him like for a moment, like did it hurt? Obviously he can't say anything to it, so there's a bit of reservedness in it. You could tell that she's not gonna accept everything at face value. Like she's gonna question, like, okay, like what does that mean, like fixed? And why do you have so
Like,
much
how do
control
you,
that you could fix this other version of a kid that doesn't even live here?
yeah, and how do you even go about doing that? Like, his mouth's not sewn shut, so it's like, how did you fix him? There's a lot
Yeah,
of questions there.
yeah. It makes you really start to think about how much control this woman has over this other world. Almost, it's like it literally is like her world entirely. It's um, so which is interesting because when you're younger watching this and you're putting the pieces together, it seems like, oh, this is just like a alternate reality, like where everything is just people with buttons. But as the cracks start to show, you realize, no, this is actually all her doing and all her creation. So she normally always wakes up in her room and thinks like everything is like a dream. But as we noticed, is the tiny door it's like locked like every time when she comes back, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's like, okay, well, how is it, who's locking the door? I know the mom mentioned that she did once. She said she saw like rat poop or something, and she was like, oh,
Yeah.
I locked it, because I thought, it would gross you out or something of that nature.
Actually, no. Actually, no. The door wasn't locked after every time. It was locked after the mom, but I don't think it was locked the first time she came back. Because remember, the first time
Oh yeah, she
she
opens the
yeah, yeah,
brick wall
yeah,
again.
yeah, no, no, yeah. She sees the brick wall again. So okay, whatever. But then the way she gets back is she tries to like recreate it. So she's like, yeah, I followed mice there. So she sets some cheese out and then follows the mice, and that's how she know it's real in the morning. She sees like the leftover cheese. She's like, oh yeah, so it was real.
Yeah, and
So yeah,
also the her rash from the
yeah, it's completely gone.
yeah, it's completely gone. So the mud stuff she put on her that night obviously worked. So clearly it was not a dream. It really happened. But yeah, at this point she kind of is starting to realize that maybe these things aren't dreams. Like this is actually happening. And we see the cat again for the first time, but in the other world, and he starts talking. And of course, the cat is played by Keith David, which is perfect.
Amazing voice actor,
Yep,
top tier.
absolutely amazing. And the cat kind of gives her a bit of a warning, or like a little detail about this world and how she seems to dictate what goes and what doesn't go. And I think they even walk out the boundaries for a moment, and you kind of see it fall apart for a second, and that's when Coraline really starts to take notice of like, oh, like, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was. Like this is like actually like almost like another pocket reality of some sort that she's in control
Yeah,
of. So that
and
was interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. I was gonna say the cat even says like when Coraline's like, "Oh, if we walked away, how'd we get back?" And the cat's like, "Well, she only made what she needed to convince you." She's like, "Anything else is like, like it doesn't matter to her." So she's like, she just needs enough to keep you here. And so it's like, yeah, it's like little details like that where that's not even really a little detail, but I really like the way he explained it and not just, "Oh, it's different world, don't worry about it."
Yeah, 100%. Uh, and then it's around this part that the movie starts to get a little dark. Also, this is like a crazy like little thing, but for some reason they gave the other mother a dump truck, like just an actual dump truck ass,
No,
and I don't know why.
no, I actually I can explain that. I can explain that.
Go ahead, please. I need to know
Yeah.
because there was a
Okay.
moment where she was walking around the back of the house into the front. And I was like, "What the?" So,
So
whoa.
so so here's what I think this is. This plays into the her, I guess, final form is it's playing up the bit of like a spider. So the first time you see her, it just looks like she's thick for no reason. But then the second time, her dress kind of mimics the design of a spider. And you can go back and look and like it kind of does have that what is
Spindle
the weird
look.
design. Yeah, so it's like the underside of the dress is red, but the top of it's black. But you can see bits of the underside, so it makes like a red symbol on like the back of the dress. It's hard to describe. I'm really bad at explaining it, but like it does mimic a spider in
Nah,
design,
I could
and
see
it
that,
just
especially for what happens later on too.
yeah. So like it slowly is just spider, spider, spider.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. So it
Interesting.
wasn't just perversion like how it would probably be modern day. Like it was there was reason. There was a
Yeah.
reason.
I was like, damn, they gave her a dump truck for real. I was like, oh my God. What is happening in this movie?
Don't let
Uh
Darren see that.
yeah, don't let Darren see that. Okay, so it's at this point that she is offered a choice in quotations, a choice. The mother is, very pleased that Coraline is enjoying her time here, and she's like, "Hey, if you want, you could stay. You don't have to leave. All you gotta do is just, take these button eyes here, and we'll just install them real quick, and you could hang out and stay with us."
Yeah, she glosses
Uh,
over it so quick. She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "You could just, sew these in." But I mean, you can choose any color you want. You can get like green, blue, pink. It's like,
yeah, and you can see how like depending on the type of kid, I could totally see a certain kid being so blinded by the you know beautiful nature of the joy and the wonder of this world that they'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll take button. I mean, you're fine with button eyes. You seem to be living normal and not you know
yeah,
all messed up. So maybe I won't be messed up. And
yeah.
depending on
You've
the
been so nice.
naivety of the kid, they would gladly accept that.
Yeah, it's like you've been so nice so far. Why would you like you said it won't hurt? So and then like the dad even slips up. He's like, "Oh, it's so sharp, you won't feel a thing." And then she immediately kicks him. It's like, oh my god! Like if a kid wasn't paying attention, it's just yeah, you gave me a bunch of good food and showed me all this fun stuff, cannon shooting cotton candy. Oh, this would be incredible. And then the second they start sewing, it's hey, wait a minute.
Yeah. And it's at this point Coraline kind of freaks out and is like, "Whoa, whoa." Like, "No. I'm not with that." And then she's saying like, "I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go to bed." Cuz in her mind she thinks going to bed fixes it.
Like,
She'll
yeah,
wake up back in her room and everything will be fine cuz that's how it happened before. But silly her, she wakes up and nope, she is still there. And it's at this point that the other mother just kind of says, "You know what? I'm not playing anymore." And she kind of reveals her true self, and she's like, you either get these buttons or like there's no going back. I'm sorry."
yeah, she goes, you're getting these buttons, and until you decide to, you're gonna go in this mirror,
Yeah.
throw the phantom zone.
Yeah, to the Phantom Zone. And it's in here in the Phantom Zone that she sees the ghosts, the other children that fell victim to the other mother's plan. And it's also here that they reveal kind of what she does. And she takes these kids and uses, I guess, like their life force as like some sort of like energy to she could continue to exist and persist everlastingly as long as she keeps getting new children and taking their life in some weird way. I guess like you said with spiders, they kind of in their own way kind of do that with the people that get caught in their web, or not
Yeah,
people, but bugs
yeah,
that
the
get caught in
things.
their web.
And
Uh,
actually, speaking of the whole spider thing, you notice that like all of the furniture in the living room, they're all like bugs. They're like
hmm
roaches and other things,
yeah.
and that plays into it. But another thing is she's the other mother, right? And it starts off showing off all the good things. Like, oh yeah, your mom is neglectful, but she's super, like, giving you all this attention. Or, oh, the food's bad there, but the food's great here. But she's the other mother in every sense. So while her normal mother and parents are neglectful but still love her, this one's giving her all this attention but doesn't care about her at all. And that was nice. That it's not just, oh, she's the other because she cares. It's no, no, she is
Yeah,
evil.
it's
But
not all sunshine and rainbows here.
yeah,
Um, so what she ends up doing is the kids basically tell her that, like their eyes are stolen and lost, and without them they can't, pass on or move on or whatever. And so it's at this point that Coraline tries to, or no, YB comes in and saves her and helps her, get a chance to escape. So she ends up getting back out to the real world, but things are things are messed up because she, goes to see if her parents are around and they're missing, nowhere to be found. She even sees the groceries are all, they've gone bad and rotten. So that kind of gives you an idea of, what potentially happened to her parents and also how long she's probably been gone. And this is like something I really, really liked. And that also, I guess, we'll finally touch on Coraline as a character. But uh, most kids at this point would just accept that, like, I'm not Coraline. Like if I got out that one time, I'm not going back. And I wouldn't even like play around with the theory of like, oh, she took my parents. They're down there. I would be trying to have the biggest copium of all time. Be like, well, I guess I just lose. I don't know. There's no winning. I don't know how I could save them as this, like, I don't even know how old she's supposed to be, but I don't know, 11, 10-year-old kid. Like, I would just be like, hey man, it's GG's after this. Like, my parents are just gone, bro. I just lose.
me, especially, like, how afraid of spiders like I was at the time. Like, oh no, that's it, man. The second she turns into a spider, I'm just, you know what, you win. I'm sorry, okay. Just turn back and we can just talk this out. There doesn't need to be any fighting.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So she goes and asks like all the neighbors like if they've seen her parents or if they know where they are, but no one knows. And it's at this point YB he shows up and he's like, "Yo, that doll that you got, kind of need that back." My grandma is kind of pissed that I took it, and she starts kind of like revealing, I guess, like all the information of like what the doll means. Her grandmother's sister still being a ghost in this tiny door, and of course YB's like sure, crazy lady. Okay,
Yeah,
sure. uh
yeah.
and Coraline kind of lashes out at him and he runs away. And at that point, she just kind of sits with reality and she's like, yeah, I gotta go save my parents because they are not coming back. And she does what I wouldn't do, but she goes back. She takes herself back down there. And this is where, we get into the theme of like, bravery. Coraline is a very, very brave kid. There's not many moments in the movie where she shows fear. Like you can tell that she's definitely afraid at times, but she's very good at hiding it and
Just
not
pushes
really.
through it.
Yeah, she's kind of like, well, this is what I gotta do. Like I just gotta do it. She very much so doesn't show fear of death or loss of her life. She just kind of wants to be self-righteous and get her parents back, which is very commendable. It's a very nice thing to show kids. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna be brave and do all this, but I respect it.
Yeah, in fact, I think the only scene we see her not being courageous or forthright or anything like that is during this is a little later, but during the game when she thinks she's like lost everything. And like that's the
Yeah,
first time you see her not be like, oh no, I can do this. She's just, oh well, I lost and it's over.
yeah, and that's next anyway. Let's talk about the game. So once she re-enters, she sees the other mother, unapologetically, like just not hiding who she is, and she basically like, "Oh, you came back, so welcome back." I'm gonna get what I want. And it's at this point that she remembers what the cat said about how she loves to play games. That's her thing. She loves playing games. So she uses this as a quick way to trick her. So she offers the option of like, well, I'll get these buttons if, you play this game with me and if I lose. So, she's of course going to agree to it because that's her thing. She loves playing games. So I think the game is like, if I find all of the eyes of the lost children as well as my parents, we all get set free and go home. If not, then you get to keep me here and take my life and sew buttons in my eyes. So, of course, she agrees to it as long as she gets a hint. And that's where she kind of sold. She should not have given her the hint. And even with the hint, like, here's the thing. I was like going through like the list of like, okay, at what point would I just not be able to do this, right? Let's say I had mustered the courage to go down there and even get to the point where I'm like saying, yeah, I'll play this game. The moment the game starts and I see where these eyes are, I'm like, yeah, I would have lost. That's like from the first eye. The first eye, the only reason she even got it was because the dad was like, here, take it. But like, would I have guessed that the eye was the crank or like the little the gear shift of his praying mantis like vehicle thing? I was like, no, I wouldn't like, come on. Like, there's just no way. I would have died immediately.
Yeah, no, but not only that, the time for this game is horribly inconsistent. Like, it starts out when she gets the first eye, the little button over the moon. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
think that was really
just
cool visual.
yeah, yeah, it
Eclipse
was really
button.
really great. Yeah, really cool visual, but it just barely starts covering the moon. Right? It's like maybe like not even an eighth of the way, or like a fifth, 16th of the way. It's like barely touching it. She gets the second eye. Now it's like a third of the way. She goes to get the third one, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, you got like 10 seconds left. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and then it stops.
Yeah, then it stops when she gets the third one. It's like, oh, hey, good job, man.
Yeah, cat came clutch.
Yeah,
Yeah, so then she gets all the eyes for the children. And she comes back and she's like, yo, mom, I got the eyes. Yeah, I
and I
got
know
the
what my
eyes.
parents are.
Yeah. And she's like, all right, where they at?
She goes, she goes,
Yeah.
I didn't expect to get asked that.
Yeah. But she does make a smart choice here. I think one of the ghost kids was like, yo, you gotta be careful. Even if you find where these parents are, she ain't
Like,
she ain't gonna hold up her end of the bargain.
yeah,
And so she's
she's
like,
gonna snake
that's
you.
smart. So she tells her, they're in the door. And for context, she locked the door and then swallowed the key. So there was like no chance of ever escaping without that key. So she needed her to open the door for her. So she takes the key, opens the door, and I really like that she's kind of played in this way. Like, her impudence and like cockiness is kind of what does her in the end. Because she's like, no, you're wrong, Coraline. You're not in
Yeah,
there.
like she straight up could have just like looked at her when she said, "Oh, they're in the door," and just go, "I'm not unlocking it. Like, I know you're wrong." So, like, she could
Yeah.
have just done that, and that's it. Movie over.
Yeah, but she wanted to be all like, toxic
Oh,
and
I
kind
got
of
her. I
play it
told you
off.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
play it up is a big thing.
Yeah. And I love that Coraline's plan here is just to yeet the cat at her. Like, that is the plan.
Yeah.
It's just throw the cat at her and run. And then for a second I was like, this is kind of messed up because it like you would think that like she just left the cat. Like, it doesn't, I don't think you even see the cat like actually make it out. So like
No,
it's
you
almost
do
like,
because
oh, you do?
when everything's falling apart, he runs through the door while she's stuck in like the web. And actually, on the
Oh.
topic of the cat, this is a neat detail too. He calls the other mother the beldam, which and translates to an old woman, but specifically a malicious and ugly old woman or a
Hmm.
witch. So, hey, neat
Hey,
detail.
that makes sense. And the house is
Yeah, it
150
fits.
years old. So
Yeah, so it fits.
yeah, she's been around for a while. Um, that is interesting. And then I'm glad you point out the spider aspect of it because it's at this point where the cat claws out the button eyes, and once she loses vision, the whole realm kind of just turns into this big spider web. And I really liked the use of that because she doesn't have eyes to see, so the only way she can figure out where she is through the reverberations or whatever of her trying to climb out of this web. So that made for a very like super intense like I gotta get out of here. Like it's really freaky. Um,
Yeah, and even in the real world, that's how spiders, like, get stuff in their webs, like,
mm-hmm.
because they're moving around so much, that just tells them, "Oh, something's here. Time to go eat."
Yep, exactly. And I thought it was like the creepiest part about it is as she's like making it out, and it's this like this desperation, this like guttural scream that she lets out where she's like, "Don't leave me! Without them, I'll die!" And I'm just like, oh my God. And then like the
No.
door
Yeah,
closing
it gets
in
closer and
closer to the
closer,
door. That
and
is
every time
so
she
cool.
bangs it, doom, 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 doom. Oh my god, that was amazing.
And then just the hand, like the hand being the last thing that like makes it through. Super, super cool. Oh my God. Um, just very genuinely good horror. Like it's a super good horror for this kids movie. It's insane. And I love that the movie could have just ended here. But no, we got to delve back into that persistence, like we're not done here. Like as long as this key exists and it's able to be, obtained, like she will come back. And I like that the hand still being a remnant is now just like a spider, moving like a spider even, is searching for the key and trying to get it from her. So she can continue, her dirty work, right? So Coraline, finally puts it together and she ends up, leaving the house and walks out to try and find a place to stow away this key and, keep everyone, I guess, safe. So at this point, she's, making her way up the track. Then the hand is chasing and luckily YB, he's there. He comes in and helps and
Little
save her.
clutch.
Yeah, he came in clutch. He came in clutch at the end. And they end up crushing the hand and dumping it down the well that's so deep that if you looked up, you would see stars in the day. How nice is that? Um, and yeah, after that, everything seems good. Everything is, relatively normal. They go back. You see the family actually, having time to work on the garden. All the neighbors are chummy with each other, and everyone's having a good time, and everything is nice. And then YB's grandmother, she shows up even, and you get some closure for her character too. So overall, a very very good time. Oh, and also that was the first time YB actually pronounced her name properly and called her Coraline. So nice little wrap up on that, and everything is kosher. Everything's good. There you have it. That's 2009's Coraline. There's the movie. What did you think? Do you think it holds up? Is it just as good as it was back in the day? What do you think?
I think it's even better than it was back then, because back then I didn't understand it. Like, now it's
Yeah,
like 'cause back then it was just goofy stop motion movie, like, now it's, "Yo, this movie's amazing." So
I
it's
agree.
you know
I think it's like a instant classic. Like it's very timeless. I don't think there's anything in the movie that dates it. No, trendy jokes that are like, oh, this won't age well. There's none of that in the movie. Yeah, I love the movie. I think it holds up beautifully. It's great. Visually, it's one of the best looking stop motion films ever. And the music, man. I love the music in this movie so much. So there you have it at that. I want to go over the uh I guess the main themes that are as described by uh I guess the director. So Coraline specifically was meant to it explores the theme of deception, illusion, and the dangers of succumbing to appearances, reminding audiences to question what lies beneath the surface and to trust their instincts when something seems too good to be true. And I think that's a good lesson, a very good lesson. Learning when something is too good to be true is a very real thing or skill that you will need because there will
Yeah,
be a lot
no.
of times where people will offer you things that are too good to be true. So that's a very rare lesson that you don't see taught much. And I think in this context of a very horror film targeted towards kids, oh yeah, they'll learn that lesson. They will learn.
And if they do, like, like, if modern or not even modern, but, like, if movies do try and, like, tackle the topic, they never really do it well. Like, if you look at, like, even Lion King, like, the whole, "Oh, be careful what you wish for" thing of, "Oh, I just can't wait to be king," and then it's like, that's more of, like, a footnote, you know? This movie's big thing is, this is way too good to be true. Don't
Hmm.
go for it.
Exactly. And it's very dark in that aspect. Like those kids, they stay
They're
dead.
dead.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
like
didn't come back at, "Oh, I'm back and I'm get to live my life." No, no, they're dead. They get to move on. That's it.
mhm. Yeah, it's really tragic and sad in that way. It's like, no, like three kids fell victim to this. They all met the same fate and didn't make it out. And the good thing to come of it is that no more kids will have to suffer this fate. So I kind of like that it's not holding your hand and trying to ease the information out to you. It's like, no, we're being pretty raw and gritty with this. Like, this is real, like stuff like this. Like, people will try to trick you. They will try to make you think one thing's one way when it's really another, just to get you to do things. And you should always listen to your instinct and not, let stuff like that get the best of you. So that's Coraline. I really enjoyed talking with you about this episode, or sorry, this movie in this episode. So, uh,
Likewise.
yeah, next week we're gonna be talking about Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the first volume. That one I'm really excited to get into. I have the book right here with me, so over the next 7 days I'll be giving that a gander, a read, and we'll come back and reconvene and we'll talk about it and see how that book holds up, and the memories we have reading those books in our younger years.
Gotcha. Oh, one final fun fact about Coraline before we depart.
Hmm.
YB is only in the movies. He's not in the books, like, at all.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah, because I was looking up about this one theory about the movie, because I remember hearing something about, oh, some of the characters, like the typical kids movie or kids content thing is everyone's actually dead. I really don't like those types of theories. But one of the things someone ended up finding out is he was added to the movies specifically so Coraline wasn't just talking to herself the entire time.
That's
Like,
interesting.
they're like, yeah, they said in the book she's just thinking aloud a lot, and in a movie they were like it'd probably be a little disconcerting.
Yeah, that's hard to do. Yeah. Huh.
So they added YB.
Wow. So the books are pretty different, I would say. Without the YB character, I guess all that's changed is the way that exposition is given to you. Because he's kind of one of the ones that divulges a lot of the more important information.
And he's the one
For
who
the
gives the
plot.
doll. So it's like, would the doll
Yeah.
just appear? Would she find it? It makes me want to go and read the book now, actually. So
Yeah. Huh.
I'm gonna do that.
Interesting. The more you know. Well,
Yeah.
that does it for this episode. We'll see you all next week. Thank you guys for watching.
Making up a song about Coraline. She's a peach, she's a doll, she's a pal of mine. She's as cute as a button in the eyes of the